How about now? All right. For those that didn't hear me, what I said, my background with the police department's been about 25 years. I've worked just about every area of the department. Spent a good amount of time working in the robbery homicide unit. My current assignment has me here at South Precinct working in the criminal investigations section. What we do there is when you report a crime, we investigate it. If it's a crime, our unit investigates. Certain crimes go to certain areas. Be glad to talk to you about that a little bit later if you like. But for now, let's go into the active shooter presentation. I will tell you, we have condensed this down. This class is actually about 2.5, 3 hours long. It gets very boring and very dry. So we tried to go through and hit the high points, the important parts, okay? First question is, what is an active shooter? Does anybody know? Do they have a goal? Do they have, what's their purpose? What's their point? Who knows? Absolutely, who knows? They may or may not have an intended target where they're at. Keep that in mind. They may just be a little bit off kilter, and most all of them are off kilter. There is something wrong with these people. Okay? Suspect's activity is immediately causing death or serious bodily injury. That's step one. The activity's not contained, which means he's on the move, or she. They're going. There's immediate risk of death or serious injury to the potential victims. Who are the victims? Anybody. Any one of us could be, right? You go anywhere, shopping malls, church, unfortunately, we've seen that in some churches, right? Okay. The characteristics of an active shooter situation. The victims are selected at random. Like I said, most victims are not targeted. They're targets of opportunity. Hopefully at the end of this, you guys will be able to thwart that a little bit and understand how not to be that target of opportunity, right? The event's unpredictable and evolves very, very quickly. I believe our average response time to what's called a priority 1 call or priority 0, a situation like this, unless we have an officer sitting on the street in front of you, is about 1.5 to 2 minutes. That's if we're lucky. I'm going to be very candid. That's law enforcement nationwide. Okay? Remember the sequence of events that occur. The situation starts. Somebody calls 911. Multiple people are calling 911. Then it goes from there to the officer who has to get here. So there is a time delay. Of the 160 active shooter incidents that occurred between 2000 and 2013, 60% of them were over and done before the police got there. These things are very rapid. They move very quickly, okay? That goes into what we need to talk about. I'm going to throw a little acronym at you. ADD. The first part of that is to avoid. Okay? You see something like this going down, the first thing you need to do is avoid it. Get out of that area. Get as far away from there as you can. Don't call 911 right then. You get where you're safe, then call. Right? Know your exits. When you walk into a room, how many people in here, just a show of hands, know more than one way to get out of this room? You need to have situational awareness as to where you're at. When you walk into a location, pay attention to the exits. Know how you can get out of there. When you have to get out very, very quickly, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go exactly through the same door you came in. That's a fact. That perfect example of that situational awareness where people don't have it. If you remember some years back, there was a very bad fire at a nightclub with a band up north. And that was in like a Pizza Hut kind of place. The whole front of that the whole front was glass. Not to get morbid or anything, but just, again, this proves my point. Almost 80 people died in that front doorway because they kept pushing. One person from outside finally had the wherewithal to break the glass in. Nobody went out the back doors. They all went straight for that one door. Know all the exits. When you're in a place, walking around the mall, look around. They've got the big exit signs. Pay attention to them. Know your way out. Right? Because again, what do we want to do? We want to avoid this person. How do we avoid them? We get out. That is the first thing we do. We get out. Another part of that situational awareness, I just showed it. I'll go back. What are they holding in a hand there? How many of you have looked around and seen the people? Clueless to what's going on around them, right? Put the phone down. Interact with your surroundings. That's the most important key you can do to help avoid. Interact with your surroundings. Pay attention to what you see is happening. Second step you're going to do is you're going to deny them. You were unable to get out. Didn't happen. You couldn't make it to the exit. Crazy. I will use the word crazy, so don't hold it against me. The crazy person comes in the door with a gun. You don't know any other exit. That's your exit. What are you going to do? Get somewhere else. If you can get to a room, get in there. Hide. Turn the lights off. Lock the doors. Block the doors. Whatever you can do. You're going to deny them the access to you. You don't want them to get near you because, again, do you want to really risk your safety with this individual? Not at all. The last thing you're going to do is defend. And this is the one where if you get to this, there's no joking, there's no holding back. Your goal, one goal in life is to hurt somebody. Okay? I'm just going to tell you. That is your goal. I like to tell people if you get to this point, everybody knows the story of Noah and the ark, right? You're going to fight this individual like the third monkey at the door of Noah's ark. That is exactly what you need to do. Because you need to get on that ark, right? Okay. Use anything. They show you a chair. They show you a fire extinguisher up there. How many of you have got a book in front of you? Hymnal or something? It's a hardback book, right? Take that book and hold it on a lateral plane. Put the backside, the binding, put that towards them. Hit them with all your love. I will promise you it will hurt. It will leave a mark. Okay? It will distract them. Throw the books at them. Do whatever you can do. Your goal is to interrupt what they're doing. Because what are they doing? They're killing people. We're going to interrupt that any way we can. And we're going to try to overpower them. Would some of us get hurt? Yes. Unfortunately, yes. But if we go at him, he can't get us all, right? So, we're going to go after them. Again, it's just avoid, deny, and defend. Those are the things you want to do if you're ever caught up in a situation. I thought I had a video there, but I may not. I'll have to find it. This is our police priorities. If you are caught up in this situation, understand we want to help everybody. But what is the first thing we're going to do? That's right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to stop, as we like to say, and we tell our officers in training, our job is to stop the killing. You may be laying there hurt. We're going right past you. There's nothing personal. If this is still going on, we have to get there to stop that. Okay? We're going to address that threat. That is what we do. That is what we're here for. Next, we're going to secure the incident location. Now, some people think, well, you've got the threat down, so it's secure. Is it? No. When can we say it's secure? Pretty much when we've gone through every square inch of that facility is when we will say it's secure. It could take a while. We've all seen the latest school shooting down in Florida. It took them a while to clear it, right? That was not secure until they finished clearing that location. All right? We will, once we get to a point where we've got a secure enough area, we will move in the medical people to start helping the injured. But like I said, it may not be right that minute, because we have a lot of factors going on around us that we're dealing with. First and foremost, the threat's got to be eliminated. Okay? On average, getting to that point, depending on the size of the facility, it could be 1 to 2 hours before it's secured. One of my secondary functions is I work with the SWAT team as a negotiator. When they go in, they do their thing, and then they go through a second time to make sure they didn't miss something. Okay? Then and only then is a location secured. So it takes a while. Things that you need to be aware of when the officers arrive. And this is everybody. I'm hopeful that everybody will be absolutely overjoyed to see us at this point. That's not always the case. However, stay calm and follow the officer's instructions. Don't come running up on the officer. These officers are going to be in a heightened sense already, so don't come charging at them. Put down any items in your hands. Bags, jackets, phones, anything. Because again, they're in a reactionary stage to a situation where there is a high threat potential. Right? So the best way is hand spray, fingers spread. Let them see you. They'll tell you what they need you to do. Again, this says immediately raise your hand, spread your fingers. Whatever you're doing, just make yourself, let them know you're not a threat. Period. And you're going to do that with physical cues more so than verbal. Because would the bad guy say, oh, I'm a good guy? Yeah. Keep your hands visible at all times. Again, these officers are going to be heightened. They're going to be, much like you guys, they're going to be afraid. And if a police officer ever tells you they're doing their job and they're not afraid, they're lying to you. I will tell you that, okay? They do get afraid. Avoid any quick movements toward the officers, such as attempting to hold on to them for safety. Again, don't reach out and grab them. They're on a mission. Their mission is to stop that threat. If they get to you, do exactly what they say. More than likely, they're going to continue going. Another officer will stay there with you, or will be there with you. Okay? Avoid pointing, screaming, and yelling. There's already going to be chaos going on, right? Absolute chaos. So that doesn't help. Do not stop to ask the officer for help or directions when evacuating. The officer should be giving very clear directions. Stay here, stay on this wall. Continue walking down this hall. Somebody will see you. They will be giving very simplified directions on what you need to do. Do what they need you to do. When you call 911, if you're one of the fortunate ones that has the phone with you, you're able to, that you've avoided them and gotten somewhere safe, right? Because that's our first thing we want to do. Get safe, then call. The location you last saw that person, where were they? And I don't mean at the Mountainside Seventh-day Adventist Church. What part of the church? Right. Were they in the fellowship center? Were they in the sanctuary? Were they up in the front offices? Where specifically were they? The number of shooters you saw. There may be more than one. Everybody remembers Columbine, right? Physical description of shooters. This is very, very important, not only in this, but if you call 911 to report a crime. Give a good description. As best you can do. What are they wearing? What their weapon look like? Do he have a little small handgun like this? Does he have a long rifle? You don't need to know the specific weapon, but a good description of it helps us. Number and type of weapons held by the shooters. Number of potential victims at the location. Because again, we're going to be staging the medical, fire, EMS. They're going to be coming. And say we've got 12 people here and they roll out one fire engine and an ambulance. That's not good, right? But if we know we've got 12 injured, we're going to be sending ambulances from all over the county and additional fire trucks. Okay? Those are things that help us. This is a short video. It's going to show you several different locations, scenarios of active shooter situations, and give you some suggestions on what to do and how to get away from them. Can I make this play with the...
Spencer teams up with a former Secret Service agent to help you escape an active shooter.
We've all got to die, and I'm going to start with you.
It has happened way too many times.
Holmes shot 82 people inside a packed Colorado movie theater, killing 12.
3 restaurants were hit in a matter of hours.
They came running in. One of them had a weapon.
Armed gunmen targeting innocent people in very public places. in restaurants, movie theaters, shopping centers.
Worst thing you do is nothing.
Now, under the guidance of Jim Napolitano, former U.S. Secret Service agent to President George H.W. Bush, we're about to show you how to survive 3 deadly shooting situations, starting with this one.
We've all got to die.
A crazed gunman has just entered the restaurant you're dining in. What are you going to do now? You've just seen what not to do. Rule number 1, don't hide under a table, because immediately you become a perfect target.
A lot of times people go underneath the table. Well, that doesn't get you away from the shooter. That just gives him easy place for you to be shot.
Come on, get out of here. Go. Hit that door.
Instead, Jim says run to the nearest exit and get out of there. If you can't find an exit, run to a bathroom or a closet, which instantly becomes a safe room, and lock yourself in. Your very last option, Jim says, is to attack the attacker, focusing on getting his weapon away.
He's attacking other people. We have the chance. We're going to go in and attack this weapon. Go. We're going to go in and push it down and get it away from him.
Scenario number 2, a gunman enters the theater that you're in and begins firing into the crowd. This is definitely the wrong thing to do. If you just sit there, or even worse, stand up, again, you make yourself the perfect target.
What we want to do is use the concealment of the chairs in the darkness to get down on the ground and crawl away, get away as fast as possible.
Remember, Jim says, hit the floor, and the theater seats will give you concealment. And finally, scenario number 3, you're out shopping. You could be at the mall, a strip center, or right out on the streets. But just turning and running will get you killed. Your goal, Jim says, should be to get out of the shooter's line of sight.
In an area like this, there is cover. There are cars. There are shops. There are places for us to go.
Remember, the key to surviving a shooting situation is always put something between you and the shooter. Now, if you missed anything in our story and would like to see it again, or simply watch it at your own pace, you can do that. The entire story is available online at clicktohouston.com. Just click on the top stories section. I'm Bill Spencer. Channel 2 investigates.
Okay, I was hoping there was another video that should have been on here. Who has a phone with a camera? If you want to take a picture of this slide, I'm going to leave this up. I need to get in here and see if I can find this other video. It's very similar, but it's an absolute sequence of events of an active shooter in a location very much like a Sam's Club or a Walmart. Okay? And I'm not sure why it didn't pop up on me. But again, the most important thing to do is always remember our little acronym of add, avoid, deny, and defend. You're going to avoid them no matter what. They just gave you some examples, some people running on the street, and I know they're making a little video to show you the idea, but you saw the people get behind the cars. Spot on. Hide behind a car because bullets generally won't go completely through a car. Okay? I don't know that I would stay there if he's on the street and moving, but I would get there and use that to get to my next point, to get away. They talk about cover. For those, how many military guys I got in here? Cover something that would stop a bullet. Concealment just hides you from them. You want something solid. Something that will stop, slow down, make it not so. Okay? You don't want to go behind the bush. Bush isn't going to help you. It might hide you, but it's not going to help you. If you're caught in an open area like this, do not make a straight beeline run. Zigzag. Pop up and down while you're doing it. The human eye is attracted to movement. If you're moving on a steady course, you're an easy target. Okay? So again, we're going to avoid, we're getting out, we're gone. Dial 911, dial 911 outside. We're going to tell them everything we could possibly tell them of what we saw. Right? But let's say something happened here and we jetted, we're able to hit that door because there's another gunman out there, and I'm assuming there's some front offices up this way. If we can get to those front offices, what are we going to do? We're going to get in those offices, lock the door, flip out the lights. We're going to barricade the door. We're going to do whatever. We're going to hunker down because we can't get out. Once you're there, you're relatively safe. Phone, 911. Again, everything you saw, that good description of the shooter or shooters, right? Most people don't realize, and going back, and I'm kind of jumping around. I don't know why that didn't embed. For some reason, this video didn't drop into that file when I transferred it over. So we've got another video we're going to show you, which is going to be the major shopping center type deal, like a Sam's Club. It's a little better than the one you just saw. That was just some suggestions. They're going to go over it, and I'm going to harp on and on. Avoid, deny, defend.
There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
What's going to be the solution by the time we...
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
I apologize for my technical difficulties here. But again, we're going to avoid it. We're going to deny them the access to us, right? And then what are we going to do? If all else fails, defend. And we're going to fight. We're going to fight them with everything we've got because we do not want to be hurt, right? Let them get hurt. Let them get hurt. I'm not worried about that. We need to stay safe. Keep going. At this point, let me just kind of stop. Does anybody got any questions about this because these incidents do occur. And when I tell you that the officers are coming, they're coming fast, they're coming hard, everybody's seen the video from the news where you've had these incidents at schools. Has anybody ever bothered paying attention to how the police cars and fire trucks are parked there? Those guys are coming in 90 to nothing. Okay. This is the video from the store.
What's going to be the solution by the time we...
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Actually think he's got he's got a truck. I don't know if your daughter would be interested.
We need help. There's a gunman inside the store. He's shooting the place up. We need help now.
Issues that we found. Okay, Emily, see what that is. See what's going on. Just let us know what you find.
There's a man with a gun. He's right there.
What's the wall?
Lights. Lock it.
Right, County. There you go. You're safe for that.
There's a guy with a gun shooting. Look.
James, we don't have
No, look.
Run! To the right, to the loading dock. Come on, this way.
Oh, no, come in.
Yeah, in here. The gunman's coming.
What are you going to do?
We're going to have to defend ourselves.
I can't do this.
You're going to see your daughter tonight, okay? We are all going to go home tonight, all right? We have a right to defend ourselves. Get the gun! Get the gun. Hey! Hold him down.
Gosh, I'm just so glad you're okay.
Yes, we're all going to go home. Everybody's going home. Yeah.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so. Avoiding the attacker starts with being aware of your surroundings at all times and knowing what is going on around you. If you see or hear something that looks suspicious, take action. For example, the stalker took immediate and effective action to protect himself when he observed the shooter pulling out weapons from the bag. Others, however, hesitated, and this hesitation can cost them valuable time that they could have used to get away from the threat. If you hear something that is, or could be, gunfire, start trying to get away from it as soon as possible. Gunfire has a distinctive sound. Inside of buildings, the sound can be muffled or distorted. A single loud bang could be a person dropping something, or even thunder. But repeated loud bangs are much more likely to be gunfire. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together, should create a heightened awareness and stimulate an immediate response. It is important that you know how to get out. The situation will be chaotic and rapidly changing. In general, you will want to go to the nearest exit. But you must also understand that the closest exit may not be accessible or safe to use. If this is the case, go to a different exit. While avoiding the threat, consider the uses of cover and concealment. Cover offers protection from gunfire, while concealment minimizes your exposure to the attacker. Try to keep objects between you and the attacker. If you can't avoid the attacker, sometimes the best option will be to deny the attacker access to your location. In many locations, this can be accomplished by closing and locking a door, such as they did in the meeting room. Locking the door has proven effective in many attacks. If the door does not have a lock, you can place heavy objects in front of it. Remember, barricades work best if the door opens toward you. If it doesn't, use things that are readily available, such as straps, belts, or objects that can be used to block or secure the door to make it difficult for the attacker to enter the room. This may at least slow the attacker down and give you time to identify alternate means of escape, such as adjoining rooms or windows. When attempting to deny access to your location, you want to make it appear that there is no one in your area. Lock doors, turn off the lights, silence your phones, and get out of sight. Your attempt to deny the attacker access to your location might fail.
The gunman's coming.
What are we going to do?
We're going to have to defend ourselves.
Have a backup plan about what you will do. In many cases, this may be to defend yourself. You need to be in a place where you can act if the attacker comes into your location. In most rooms, you will line up against the same wall that the door is on, near the door so you can react, but not directly in front of it. If you are unable to avoid or deny, your best option may be to defend yourself by using whatever is available. In a situation where someone is attempting to kill you, you have the legal right to defend yourself. Attack weak spots such as eyes, throat, and groin. Fight to the best of your ability and do not quit until the attacker is stopped. This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger. Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any information that you know. The operator will ask you a lot of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know and only state the facts. This will be a complex situation, and we can't tell you what you should do in every case. What we can do is provide you with information about the options that we have found to be most effective for surviving these attacks. The ultimate choice is yours. What you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Law enforcement will be entering a chaotic scene with limited information. Their first priority will be to stop the threat to your safety. The police may not know where or who the threat is. Listen and comply with their commands immediately.
Put it down, sir. Put it down. Both of you on the ground.
Police are trained to look at people's hands to assess threats. Do not have anything in your hands that could be perceived as a weapon, such as a cell phone.
Show me your hands, sir. Show me your hands. Move to us. Everybody, keep your hands up, please. Walk out the door.
If told to do so, stay where you are and do not make sudden movements. Again, follow all commands. Remember, what you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Remember, ADD. You can survive.
All right, so that's the video that the University of Texas came up with. Like I said, it's a little better than that first video we had. When and if this ever happens to you, please try to remember this stuff. Talk to your friends about it. Everywhere you go, pay attention to where you're at. As you walk in, look around. Most police officers and any officers out here, any of you know officers? You ever go to eat with them? Police officers will always sit with his back to a wall. Almost always. So he can see, or she can see, what's going on. Right? Situational awareness. Be aware of what's going on around you. That's the first step to avoiding this. Because if you see something starting to happen, you can go. You can get out that door, right? One thing that, as many times as I've seen that video, and I never noticed it until just now, sitting there watching it. At the tail end, did everybody remember when they were coming out and giving hugs to each other? Everybody noticed it was dark? It was nighttime. Remember, I told you it's going to take a long while to secure that location. So you may be in there for a while until the officers can get there and get you out. You might think about your business places that you may be at. Some ever happen there, you might want to have a stash of some food here and there, some water, just in case. Or something, for you ladies, something in your purse. Because it could be a while. Okay? And your adrenaline's going to go up here, and it's going to be up here, and it's going to stay up here, it's going to stay up here, and then things will get calm, and you're going to crash. So you'll probably want some food. I'm just saying, I know I would. Yeah. Deny. The big thing they showed on the one video. 2 doors back there, they've got the arms at the top. For you guys, you're wearing a belt. You can take your belt and interweave into those arms at the top, and that door is almost impossible to open. Okay? There are things you can do. Sometimes you have to be creative. When you're going through places, look around and say, how would I secure myself in there? Think about it. This goes, you can do it at your home, right? Unfortunately, in the current climate of society, there are some real special people out here that are up to no good. God forbid, you may have the situation come to your doorstep one day, right? Do we have a plan? We should think about it, shouldn't we? You know? How would I deal with this situation if it came to my doorstep? If you have a plan, your chance of not getting hurt, surviving, shoots way up. Way up. Okay? Walk into a business next time you go to the grocery store. Walk in, look around. And just look at the other customers. And look at how many of them are checked out. They're on their phone, they're doing, and they just got no clue about what's going on around them. And that's us, society. We are all checked out with these phones. All of us. You have greatest invention in the world, worst invention in the world. Absolutely. It has made life so much easier for a lot of ways, but it's crippled us in others. Right? So, if we go to the defend part, again, if you're at your house, if you're a person who chooses to carry a firearm, you have the right to defend yourself or another person. If you carry a firearm, my suggestion is know how to use it. Okay? Because at some point, you may be called upon to do that. Nobody wants to think about that. But, you don't carry these just to look tough. If you are, then you've got no business carrying one. Flat out, this is a tool for safety. That is all it is. This is a tool. It does not do anything. It will not do anything until somebody manipulates it. Okay? That is not DeKalb County encouraging you to carry a firearm, by the way, nor is it me. I am telling you that if you choose to, get some training. Okay? Do I have any questions whatsoever? And we can run the gamut from the active shooter to anything else, and I may or may not be able to answer it. This young lady in the back had her hand up first.
Sergeant, she actually had her hands up first.
I'll come right back to you.
We're going to give some more mics around. Dion, Brother Hughes, if you would take the back on the far right, on that side for me, please. All right, go ahead.
Okay, quick question. So you said to first find a way to exit. So if everybody's cramming, say it's a full church like today, everybody's going through those doors and a few people made it to those doors and already locked it. Can I burst through this window, or is it too much of an attraction from the gun owner?
Given that example, if everybody didn't hear, I'm going to go over it. She said, the activity's coming in from this way. Some people have made it to the doors here, but they've already gone through. They've locked those doors, so now those doors are out of play. Would it be too much of a distraction or an attraction to break out the window? The best answer I can give you for that, if I attract his attention, I do, but I'm getting out of here. And if that's the way I'm going to get out, I'm gone. What I may do, just a thought, thinking ahead, break the windows, keep your cover down low behind the pew, get the window broke out good, let it get his attention, because he may not know why it's breaking. He doesn't see anybody over there, and he just goes back over there. And as soon as he's not looking, right out the window. Right?
Over here.
Well, she had her hands up first in the back, Sister Green.
I noticed on the video that people were initially looking out for themselves. Is it appropriate to scream out and warn people as you're running? Or I was piggybacking on what she's saying. I would be concerned about being a distraction. And
if you can get their attention, by all means do, if you can. But again, as you're running past, there's somebody with a gun. That needs to be the end of that conversation. We're not going to sit there and try to pull them out. No, there's somebody, if they didn't pick up on your physical and verbal clues that I need to leave, we're going to get, again, ourselves. We get ourselves out.
Test.
What if there's not, like, you know how you defend? What if there's nothing around you that you can use? What do you do?
What if there's something around you that you can use?
No. What if there's nothing around you that you can't use?
Unfortunately, at that point, you're to the last D, which is defend, and you just kind of do what you can. Again, they talked about soft tissue, eyes, throat, groin. You try to hurt somebody. I mean, that's what this is, because they're trying to hurt you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I received this course through a lunch and learn at my company's headquarters.
Okay.
And the one thing they said to me that stuck out in my mind was, do not fight fair. That's
Absolutely.
the gist of it. Do not fight fair.
Again, this is your safety, right? Just a show of hands, if somebody you didn't know that came up in your house trying to hurt you, what would you do?
Take them out.
Who would fight fair? Would anybody? No, right? That's your house. You're not coming up in my house and doing something to me. Same here. Where you're at, these people are trying to hurt you for no other reason than to hurt somebody. It's not you.
Okay. Hey, we have a question back here. Right here.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
As far as training goes, does the county provide any training areas for civilians?
Towards training and...
You know, like
how to use a firearm.
Firearm training.
They do not, that I am aware of. My recommendation on that, some of the best training you can get is through the NRA and their various courses. They do a very excellent job. A lot of them may actually be some of the police trainers that are working for various gun ranges training people.
Thank you.
I will just, I'm going to piggyback on that. With any gun course you guys may choose to go to, if they don't start that course with gun safety, but also touching on the fact that you need to be able to defend yourself without going to that gun sometimes, then it's a shooting course. It's not so much a safety course, because we don't always need to use that tool, right? But we need to know how to use these, right? Those.
Okay, I like it. You know, most of these buildings have doors inside the building with windows on these small doors in these rooms. Now, I know like a lot of people like run in these rooms and lock the doors. But now, what about that window? A lot of times they can, break through those windows and unlock that door and get in. Now, I know a lot of buildings, too, have windows with mesh windows, and it's hard to break unless you probably shoot that window out.
Right.
So,
you good?
That's it.
All right. The question was, what about a door with a window? And I'm going to touch back on the video. If you remember, that room had windows in it. And what their suggestion there is, get it, lock the door, turn the light off, and make a line down that wall. That way, if they're looking through that window, they can't see that anybody's in there. Again, these people, when they're doing this, what is their goal? It is to come in and kill people and hurt people very quickly, because it's over how fast? About 2 to 3 minutes. They're usually over pretty quick. So any hindrance to them doing what they want to do, they're going to move on. I'll throw an example, and I believe it's been a long time since I sat through the entire full course. Virginia Tech, everybody remembers that? Yes. There were a couple of classrooms where nobody got hurt. They locked the door. The rooms that they didn't lock the door, that guy went in, shot him, went to the next room, shot him, went back, shot some more. So, again, just the simple act of locking a door and flipping off the lights is a huge deterrent because he's looking for a target. If I can't see a target in there, why am I going to waste time trying to kick this door? I'm just going to go over here where I got targets. Right? Yes, sir.
As you drove up on our premises here this evening, and then subsequently walked through our church building here, what would be some of the basic preventions that you would recommend that an institution like this needs to implement right away?
You're asking for security recommendations for the facility. I would actually defer that one to Officer Walker. I will be happy to walk around the facility with you and point out things that I might see. Officer Walker will actually get back with Mr. Sicard. I've already talked to him about that, and I believe you guys spoke about him coming and doing a full workup plan. So that's actually in the works. And that's what Officer Walker works with our Homeland Security Division, and that's what he does.
What if someone is breaking in my house, and that really happened to me one morning. I was getting out of the shower, and my security went off in the basement. Every window, every entrance to my house has security on it. There was announcements I made, entry detected, basement window. And I grabbed my piece. And I started down the steps. In fact, about it, I was so anxious to get down there, I didn't even dress. My wife said, "Come back and put your clothes on." But anyway, now, if I had encountered, well, luckily for him, when the announcement went off, it sounded all over the neighborhood, so he ran away. But now, what if he had come in and I shot him? Would I have been wrong in protecting my family?
I'm going to answer your question with a question for you. Were you in fear for your safety in life?
Yes, absolutely. Somebody was breaking in my house.
Georgia has castle laws. They've recently enacted those. If somebody comes in and you are justified in being fearful for yourself or others in your house, it doesn't have to just be you, okay? Working down there, and I will tell everybody here, these guys, unfortunately, it seems to be more and more the norm. Technology is catching up with the world, right? We're high tech is going into the home, right? Videos and everything. A lot of these burglaries that we see, when they pull the video, a lot of these guys are armed where they break into houses. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm being candid. Given this situation, again, that's your home. It's your domicile. If you're in fear for your safety, you do what you need to do.
That's right.
Period. Okay? I'll throw an example at you to a point. Again, earlier I told you I worked up in the major felony robbery homicide unit. Okay? For people that don't know the gun laws, if you're a convicted felon in the state of Georgia, you cannot own or possess a gun. Okay? I have worked cases with convicted felons that had a gun in their house where somebody came in doing something and they shot and killed them and they were not charged. We forward that over to, back then, we would forward that to the DA, let the DA make a determination if they want to charge them as a convicted felon in possession. My thought there is no, he shouldn't have had that gun. Had he not had that gun, he would be dead. He would be a victim. So, if you're defending yourself or another,
One other question. I was trained, well trained in handling firearms from a child raised up in the country. And I tell my wife I want to teach her how to handle a firearm. And she said, oh, no. But would it be wrong for me to teach my wife how to use a firearm?
I'll answer that with just my personal view. How about that? Again, not a DeKalb County sanctioned view, not in my personal view. I believe everybody should know how to use a firearm. Amen. I believe that. I believe that if you can legally own a gun, you should have one. Do I think you should have an M1 Abrams tank? No. Okay. I am very pro that if you want a gun, then you need a gun. You know what you need, right? And everybody gets upset sometimes, and this is all strictly me. It's not the county. It's nobody else. Me. Remember, this is your domicile. This is your place. Nobody's got a right to come in there and hurt you. That's right. Nobody. Okay?
Is there any other strategies or tactics you would suggest for us to use in a situation where there is more than one active shooter?
Again, I go straight to the first. Avoid them. Avoid them. I know that's a very vague thing when I say that, and I'm not avoiding answering your question. But ultimately, it is you need to avoid them. If there's multiple, as we've had Columbine, right? Almost every one of these ones, I would venture to say, I hadn't seen the latest facts from down in Florida, but I will promise you at one point in time, due to descriptions given by people, because most people are not trained observers, okay? So they probably had 3 or 4 different descriptions of the same guy. And that happens. I'll give you an example. When I was a rookie police officer, a gentleman was out shooting his .22 rifle at about 2 o'clock in the morning as I popped up over a car, and he walks out the door pointing it at me. .22 rifle's about as big as my little finger. I would have swore that was a 12 gauge. Okay? And I'm a trained observer. So again, you're going to get the multitude of descriptions. If you see two, if and when you get the opportunity to call 911, I saw 2. Because we need to know that. Right? It's important. We did training over at Emory University just a couple of weeks ago. And it was a scenario-based training, and by the time it was done, we came out as one shooter, and I think by the time it was all said and done, they had information on 3 different shooters. But between the communication from the people reporting, to our communications, to the officers doing it, how many times has that information traded hands? So it's never quite as accurate as we want it to be, right? Yes, ma'am.
Let's go back to the person breaking into your home situation. I have heard, now I'm trying to get clarity, that if you shoot them and they die off your property, that you're in trouble. What's the law on that?
How would that be?
Huh?
How would that be?
I don't know, but I have heard that they were coming in and maybe you just shot him somewhere where you hit one of those arteries or something. I don't know, but.
Well, then again, that's not an accurate statement. Okay. I will just tell you, and again, I'll defer back to my many years working up there. Fine gentleman had 2 young fellows break into his house. They went in through the garage. His garage had 2 steps going up into the house. As they got in, they were going up. One was up higher on the steps. The other one was lower. He fired one time. One of them dropped right there because he was hitting the head. The other one, who was hitting the chest, who was hit first, made it back out, ran to his car, and they drove off. So, I mean, that can happen. And no, he's not accountable for, just because the guy left, that doesn't change the fact that he's breaking in and you're in fear for your life. Again, that's what the key is. What is your level of fear? Right? Is it reasonable? Is it reasonable that you're in fear for your life at that point? Yeah, absolutely.
From the previous video you showed, which went in depth in the supermarket, the worker that saw the guy putting the earplugs in and unzipping the bag, is it legal to subdue him before he even pulls out his gun? Because I wouldn't have run. I would have probably kicked him, then run, because I felt that whole situation could have been avoided if he hit him with a pipe or something first, from the first time, because he saw him opening the bag and putting earplugs in. Is it legal? Like,
again, and that's actually a very good question, because it's going to make me think for several scenarios here. The question is if you see somebody putting the earplugs in, would you be good to go ahead and assume that they're fixing to do some nefarious activity, maybe an active shooter? I would say no. But the video in the example they gave you made it seem like he saw those guns in that bag when the bag opened. Right? So given that, can he now articulate that he's afraid? Sure. But I'm always going to throw a but at you. What's been going on with our country for the past, since 2001? No. Part of it. We've been at war in a lot of countries. There are a lot of well-trained military people out here. I would think long and hard before going at somebody like that. Just being real. Okay? Yes, sir.
I don't want to keep asking the same question, but I just want a little bit more clarity.
Okay.
Because my wife was still unsure of the answer that you gave.
Okay.
So it has always been told to me, well, at one time I heard that the law was that if a person was on your property, meaning they was in your yard, and you felt threatened and you used force, then you would not be held accountable for harming them in any kind of way. But then we was under the impression that the law has changed, that the individual has to be in your home before you can take action.
Okay.
So what is the law of Georgia?
All right. Let me see if I can. Basically, it comes down to what's called castle laws. Castle laws. This is my castle. I am the king or queen of my castle. So they refer to them as castle laws. If they're in your yard and they're throwing pebbles at you, okay, can you do something to hurt them? No, they're not hurting you. If they're in your yard, once they break the threshold of your house, once they break that threshold and come into your house, an assumption can be made that they're there to hurt you if they're not there with permission. Okay? I personally, just as silly as it sounds, if they're armed, that's one thing. But if they just come in acting all crazy, we're going to be crazy together for a little bit. You know, I'm going to let that situation play out maybe, or it may go south. And you just got to do what you got to do, right? But I'm not going to immediately, if they're not armed, I'm not going to immediately just hurt somebody. Because, again, we go back to our military PTSD, there's a lot of them floating around out here, and they're not necessarily all together. Yes,
We
ma'am.
have a question back here. Right here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I came in a little late, so I didn't see the video. Could you explain self-defense? The
Self-defense?
word self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
If you could explain that to me, and then I would have a follow-up question.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll do my best with it. Now, the question was, explain self-defense, okay? That's when you're simply defending yourself from a threat. I would be, this fine gentleman jumps up and knocks me upside the head. And I swing back. That's self-defense. If I'm doing something to defend myself.
Second question is,
Give me 1 second, I'm going to get you.
second question is, what if it's my wife with me? Is it self-defense if somebody hit her?
Is it, no, you're saying a situation with your wife?
Yes, or a good friend, or the pastor, anyone.
Well,
is around.
under that, and I'll get with you about that, that's something entirely different. That's getting into domestic violence. And there's other recourses for that.
Now, he's saying if his wife is with him and the attacker attacks his wife and he goes after the
Oh, no, okay, yeah, okay. I get where, yes, you can still, you can defend another. You can defend another under self-defense. Okay?
So this is not necessarily a threat to me, but let's say I'm looking out the window and in my shed I see a stranger pulling out my lawnmower.
I hope that's not actually happened to you.
So he's in the shed and he's gonna ride off with my lawnmower. Other than calling 911, because by that time my lawnmower is gone, what recourse do I have? If I have if I have a firearm, will I be penalized for drawing it on him? Not necessarily shooting, but like drawing it on him, because he's riding away with my lawnmower.
No, this is a good one, guys. It really is. You could point your gun at him.
Shoot him.
I would caution against it. And the reason I would is because when guns come out, things tend to escalate very quickly. You do not know what he's got. And I don't want to sound flip when I say this, but a lawnmower is not worth me getting hurt. You know. Could you? Yes, you could. Would that be a recommended course of action? I don't think you're going to find too many that would recommend it. No. He's committed a misdemeanor, or depending on the value of the mower, pointing a pistol at somebody is a misdemeanor.
But what if he actually...
And again, right. Again, it comes back to what you could articulate if you're afraid of him. He's stealing from you. You just want to make sure he's not coming in the house. I pulled my gun and said, don't come near me. Yeah. Yes,
so I want further clarification based on what Elder Boone asked you about that threat that is kind of outside on your yard, but you see you have to be inside. So I see this crazy man with a gun approaching me to come, like he's coming towards my door. So, of course, I have to protect myself before he actually enters, but he's still on the yard, let's say on the step, but he's making way towards the house with the gun. Can I shoot? Well, Yep. I know that kind of shooting,
well,
but
no,
is that self-defense as well? I mean, before he even enters.
If he has a defined, if you can define that he has a weapon, okay, and again, the weapon doesn't necessarily have to be a gun.
Right.
It could be a knife.
Yeah.
It could be a red brick. Anything that somebody could use offensively to hurt you, right? It is at what level were you reaching that level of fear in yourself, okay? Would it be reasonable to others? Thank you. But would that level of fear be reasonable to others? In other words, basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, could the DA go and show that case to the grand jury, which is 24 citizens, and them sit there and go, "Yeah, that was reasonable. I would have been afraid. I would have done the same thing." Right?
It all depends in the hand. It all lies in the hands of the jury. Basically, that's what you're saying.
I just use that as an example of what's reasonable. Okay, Georgia law follows a reasonable man doctrine. What would a reasonable man do? That is it. That's why I keep saying, if you can articulate your level of fear, and a reasonable man says, "Yeah, I get it. That's there." There's no issue. There is no issue whatsoever.
Right. I have a question. Given a scenario right here, active shooter come in this door here.
Mm-hmm.
What will be some of the things? These are plexiglass. This is not glass. So
it's not going to break that easy.
Huh? Yes, it's hard to break. So what would be some of the things we could do to protect ourselves as we walk through that door right there?
That door?
Yes.
With this limited area? I'd get low, stay low, and try to make it that way. If you can't, as he comes down, there's enough people here, we bum rush him. And unfortunately, again, unfortunately, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us might get hurt. We might. But that's better than 25. It's better than 30, right? I mean, and we've got weapons sitting in here. We've already discussed them. Where is it? Best weapon in here. Best weapon for all. Right there. I don't know. All right, I'm going to ask the older people because I know I got a book upside the bottom once or twice. Hurts, doesn't it? And it was like that. Could you imagine? Like that? This will knock somebody out. This would knock somebody out.
What about some of the ladies using their heels?
Heels are wonderful. Especially if you can generate just a little bit of force with them. Again, the smaller the heel, the more deadly that thing is. I will tell you, you ladies know you've probably stepped on each other's feet and it hurts. Imagine if one of the self-defense things they teach, if you're wearing heels to ladies, okay, somebody grabs you from behind and you're wearing heels, is stomp those feet. Skinnier the heel, the better you're going to do. You're going to break bone because you're concentrating all that force in that small area. Okay? There are plenty of weapons in here in that situation.
Question, when does stand your own ground applies?
Stand your own ground? That's kind of goes back to the castle laws. You can stand your ground at your house.
Let's just have a few more questions, okay? I mean, we started this with active shooting. Now we're going all the way off the scope. So let's just have a few more questions, okay? Elder Ryan.
Right. I noticed that there was a movement away from the active shooting situation, but I'm going to stick with it Because so far we've been thinking about or talking about active shooter within a contained environment. Now, a scenario for you. I'm out in the public. I mean, it is said that 1 out of 3 Georgians are moving around with a gun. All right, and there's always a possibility you may have somebody who's illegally carrying a weapon. You're in a situation where I have reasonable fear. I'm in a situation where there's reasonable fear and I have to defend myself. I'm unable to avoid a situation where somebody's actively shooting out in the public. I can't deny the situation. I'm unable to do that. The only choice that I have is to defend my situation because I've been shot at. What do I do in a circumstance? Do I shoot back in public or try to avoid? I mean, it's really a difficult situation in that respect. But there is an active shooter in place.
You're talking about out in public here?
In public where you could try to avoid, but put it for example, in traffic, there's road rage. There's always that issue of somebody shooting us, maybe shooting at you because they're upset over something. But let's say I have my piece with me. What do? I got to defend myself. What do you think?
Right, and again, I'm going to go back to exactly what I've said all along. If you're in fear for your life or somebody else's, and it's reasonable, would a reasonable man be in fear at that point? Okay? That is what it comes down to. What is a reasonable amount of force? Well, if somebody's shooting a gun at you, is it reasonable to shoot back? Yes, it is. Again, you're not escalating force. You're using the same level. But again, I would go back to make sure you know how to use it. And out in the roadway, I just think that given the circumstances of what we saw happen just a couple of weeks ago, right down here with the 3-year-old, right?
Right.
Without really going into facts of that, sometimes it's better to just drive off if you're able. Because one thing that I will tell you in those situations when you're out in the public like that, unless you are very well trained, very well trained.
That's right.
Bullets do not have names.
Okay, guys, let's keep the questions dealing with active shooting. That's what we're looking at, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead, sis. And I think we have one more question, then.
I'm in my house, and someone breaks in with a gun. Do I have the right to kill him for breaking in my house?
The short answer to that is yes. Yeah. Again, based on the circumstances of what you've defined to me, would it be reasonable that you were fear for your life? Yeah.
Okay. Brother Kelly, you have the last question. You don't have your hands up. Any more questions?
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Have a question. I have that young lady that has her hands up for the last few minutes in the back. But go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay,
go ahead,
mine
ask your
has to
question.
do more with the psychological effects of being under siege, so to speak. Our ability to function irrationally or to, to freeze or what have you.
Right.
How can you overcome such, I don't want to say fear, but how can we overcome stuff like that? And I'll give you a quick example.
No, I get what you're saying.
In 1990, a gunman walks into a class in the University of Montreal, and he hated women. And for the life of me, his name is Mark Lapine. He walks into this class with an AK-47, and he asked all the guys to get up and leave. And they all did. And he shot all the women. And no one none of the guys thought to pick up a chair or a book or throw it at him or something, you know.
Which is unique in that
I'm sorry?
time period. I say that is unique for that time period. The question was, is psychologically, how do you prepare yourself for being caught up in one of these things? How do you do that? Situational awareness. And I hate to say that, but situational awareness. If you walk in to a place and you're looking around saying, there's my exits, okay. Now if something happens, you know I'm turning and going to this exit. You've already thought about it. You've kind of prepared. Do you have a battle plan? No. But you do have a plan. So if it happens, you won't be just stopped. I don't know what to do, right? You've thought about it. And as long as you think about something ahead of time, your mind will carry on when normally it would stop. Pre-planning. That's all it is. Right.
My question is, if a shooter comes into a public place and they pull out their weapon but they haven't actually started shooting, is it like legal for civilians to try to disarm them before they actually start shooting?
If, and the best way, the question was, is if somebody comes in and they've got a weapon, I've got a weapon, they come and they pull it out, they've not done anything, but can we attack them? Don't know. Why? If he just, let's say he went to what we call a Sewell position, barrels down, he's just holding his gun. He's not done anything. Well, I'm listening to your answers, but he's not done anything. What's the threat? I've got a gun on my leg, and I mean, that's right. But it's in a defensive position. It's pointed down at the ground. It's completely safe. The best answer I can give you for that one really is just move away from him and call us. Let us come deal with that situation. Because that situation, probably, we have a couple of people here local, okay, that are very much Second Amendment proponents. And they like to show up at the Walmart with the AK-47. Happens on the regular. All right? Somebody like that probably does not have an agenda other than to get an elicited response out of us, the police. I would just move away from them and call us. But again, you're going in and you're saying, this guy's in the grocery store, he's got a gun, he's pulled it out. How do you think we're coming? We're coming. He's got a gun and he's pulled it out. He's in a public place. We're not going to waste time. You know, if he does something that you can logically say, reasonably,
or whatever, do you think that I don't see where we should be charged, and I'm hoping that we can get some legislation where some of these places where, I go to the Publix almost every day. My house is down the street. I think communities need to get together and maybe change some of that. There's no reason why a person should stand in a Publix or any place of business, where people have to go, the workplace, for instance. I don't see any reason why a person would have to do that. So I think we should move towards legislation where the manager or whoever can say, this is a whatever place of domicile, we can attack and be then exonerated from the
again,
fallout.
Here's the way that all goes. And her statement is that she would like to see a situation where the Publix could be accepted as her domicile. She doesn't want people there armed, right? So work on some legislation. It's actually easier than that. I'll just tell you, Publix is private property. Publix can say, I don't want anybody with a gun here. It is private property. There is no law, okay, that infringes on your determination of your private property. None. I'm law enforcement. I'm well trained. I know how to use this. If I go anywhere down around the Georgia World Congress Center or any of their facilities, I cannot take my gun unless I'm on duty. It's private property. They don't want us armed. So again, that situation is very easy. You talk to your business owners. If they don't want it, then they just put a sign up. No weapons allowed. It's a whole lot easier than you think.
Okay. We're going to pick up the evening offering, and I want to thank Sergeant Stafford.
My pleasure.
Did you guys learn a lot this evening? Did you guys learn a lot this evening? So what were the three-letter they were listening. Amen. How many of you guys want to see more of these programs put on? Yeah. It's always good to refresh every so often, and I believe now we have a friend in the community, right? Active shooting can take place any place. And being inside of a church does not make us immune. We have to be vigilant at all times. Safety begins with you, and it works on down to our law enforcement agencies. But it always begins with you. Amen? All right, I'm going to have the young people pick up our offering. So now this was part 2 of our series. Last week we did the preparedness for any kind of disasters. This time we did the whole active shooting. And next week we are doing security. And now I counted about 101 people in here this evening, which is really good. And, it's a blessing to see that a lot of us are very concerned about our security and our safety. Promoting and supporting AY during these times is very important. I didn't get one amen. Get one amen. Wow, you guys are some tough crowds, boy. And I'm happy you guys came out. And I hope that, as we continue to put on these programs, it may not be in a church that this may happen to you. As the video showed, they were inside of a Sam's. And I know we all have Sam's and Walmarts and Targets all around us. You never know. And I understand the concept that, people say, God will protect me. Yeah, he will. But remember, the Spirit of God is also being withdrawn from this earth, and evil is starting to even run more rampant. That's right. That's right. Amen. We have to be ready at all times. And Sergeant, this is our pastor right here. This is our pastor, Stafford.
A question was just brought to my attention, and I want to share with you and maybe get one more shot from you on here with an answer. We need to be more vigilant. Sister Keisha Burgess was just telling me that a few weeks ago, some cars were broken in the Decatur church area. So five cars broken into. And I know Berean has had cars broken into, during the day. So we are going to have to think about our men rotating perhaps outside or having a security officer. And sometimes when these people break into cars, they're armed. So what can we do to protect ourselves there?
Ultimately on that, and this would just be a recommendation, I think you would probably be okay just rotating in and out. Most car break-ins are targets of opportunity. Okay? So, again, if they see somebody's paying attention, they're going to go on down the street. That's what it comes down to. If they're some of our special population out here who are just snakes in the grass, there's some out here, I don't know that I would want to confront them because they are just mean. So I think the problem would solve itself with just a close eye. You could do that. You could intermingle a security officer on occasion with no real set time that he's going to show or no set day. That seems to work sometimes too. But the biggest thing is just be vigilant and watching.
And on that, I want to just I want to tell you, remove all items of valuable things out of your car. Like what he was saying, if it's a briefcase even, it looks like it could have some valuable things in it. So put it in the trunk. You can help us, and that will help you. Thank you, Brother Zakar, for a wonderful program. Amen. This week and last week was tremendous. I wish we had other churches in the area. We want to have these type of programs and invite the community in as well. This is one thing we're going to start doing. We're going to have a support system or target our community so that they will know how to protect themselves as well. Thank you again for a fine program.
I'm going to thank you guys for your time. I am going to ask each of you to do one thing. Just one simple thing. Tonight, tomorrow, whenever you get an opportunity, talk to your friends and neighbors about what we discussed. Pass the word, okay? This is important stuff. We don't want to play odds because what are those odds? We don't know. Okay? Thank you.
Let us pray for the offering. Father in heaven, we are so honored and grateful for your tender mercies. We thank you for bringing Sergeant Stafford here to help us understand the severeness of active shooting. Father, as he has said, we need to be vigilant at all given times. We ask that you bless him and his family, keep him safe and protected while he's on duty and off duty, Father God. And we ask that you use these funds to further your work. We ask all these things and mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Any announcements? Next week we do have Federation, and is going to continue with safety. And Pastor Jack will be the one